is D Darrell with D Darrell Life Solutions. I am back again. I want to continue to have a discussion on professionals, particularly immigrants who are working as mental health professionals, licensed therapists, immigrants who are here illegally operating in such professions, having licensure, etc., training, education. I wanted to kind of continue that conversation. I thought it was very interesting, and I did like the comments that were stated um, in the comment section and so on. And I did notice, yes, we had people who traditionally, don't watch my channel who are here saying a lot of different things. I also witnessed a lot of immigrants who were actually watching and who made known that they were from other countries, who were also giving comments. And so I do welcome anybody's comment. So again, guys, this is D Darrell with D Darrell Life Solutions. I'm here again to kind of continue the conversation on illegal immigrants who are operating in professional spaces, particularly mental health, particularly as therapists. This is a part two to that. I wanted to talk specifically about therapists because that is pretty much the field that I operate in, but it can also spill over to other related disciplines, other related um, professions that work hand in hand with therapists, such as education, teachers, principals. This guy, Mr. Ian, he was actually in Iowa operating as a superintendent of a school district. So I've worked in school districts. I've contracted with many different school districts. That is a discipline that, particularly in education, I have worked with people who operate in the education realm for years, and years. That pretty much is not anything new for me. I've done so, and I will continue to do so. It's just something that's uh, part of what I have done for years and years, and it has not changed, and probably won't change. So, um, I thought it would be appropriate to discuss this because this seems to be a situation that could be systemic and could cause a lot of problems within our government. Um, and my issue is as I look at this, and shout out to Miss T Pre and shout out to must be Trini Gal here said WTF. She said, "You all are so silly with some of these names that you all come up with." But I do think that this hurts the citizens who are here legally, people who actually need those type of job. That is a high paying job that Mr. Ian had, a job that was pretty much any superintendent job is a six-figure job. Those are six-figure jobs that have great benefits, lots of perks, and these are jobs that Americans should have. And that's pretty much my perspective. That's my perspective as it relates to that. Now, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit more as it involves my experience vetting mental health professionals to work for my company. And I have had several situations in which I had to vet immigrants who were working for my or wanted to work for my company. Okay, so these situations didn't occur a lot. It did not, and many of the situations did not involve mental health professionals who had licenses. I've had a history of hiring people who were not born in America, but they were here. They were here legally, and I verified their documents of naturalization, documents of work visa. I'm gonna be honest. Many of those workers, they were really good workers, although most of them didn't stay very long. But they mainly were pretty decent workers. They worked mostly at the paraprofessional position level, more assisting and doing more, manual labor and so forth, and direct care. But they were really good workers, hardworking, very respectful, and I had no issues. And everything that I requested for them to bring in order to be hired, they had everything together. There were no issues. Things were taken care of. They were verified, and they were hired. Simple as that. Now, it wasn't until maybe 3 or 4 years ago that I actually hired a therapist that was an immigrant, and she was here legally. She did verify all of her information. The information looks different, the information to show that their ability to work here, their ID, and all that different stuff. I verified the licensure information, education. All of her education was in America. Lived um, in the United States for well over 10 years and became an American citizen. And so um, that is pretty much um, it was very simple situation. It was not complex, not complex at all. Like it really wasn't. Um, it was very easy, and they turned out to be, well, let's just say, they worked and did the work that they did. I don't want to get in the midst of all of that. Then I also had another worker who was in the Caribbean, who worked for me for years, and I actually had a couple of workers, of therapists who were from the Caribbean, and they operated well in their discipline. They were American citizens. They provided good services, didn't have any issues. They didn't stay that long. They stayed maybe 3 or 4 months, and then they decided to seek other opportunities elsewhere. Now, I want to fast forward and kind of pivot a little bit as far as me talking about the dollar store that I own, and where that dollar store was located. Now, this is retail. Now, I'm kind of transferring away from mental health to retail. And so, my experience in retail is that I was located in an area that was primarily immigrant, particularly Hispanic immigrants. And I would get a plethora. And I would say, when I opened that store, I would say 70% of the people who wanted to work there were not legal immigrants. They were not. And I told many of them, I'm sorry, I can't hire you if you're not, I'm not going to pay you under the table. And I've actually talked about that a little bit in some of my older videos on this channel, and also on, I think I may have mentioned this a little bit on my D-Darrell Live channel, which is a dead channel. I don't do that type of content anymore. But I did kind of mention and talk about some of the things that were related to the dollar store as far as finding appropriate workers. And it was a problem. Most of the people who worked, all the people who worked for me were Hispanic. They were Spanish speaking because I needed that because of the demographic that was supporting the store. And the majority of the people who were supported the store were young Hispanic women who had children. But many of them did not speak English that well. If they did speak it, they didn't speak it that well, or they didn't speak English at all. And so I had a big conundrum with that store that led to it not being as successful as it could have because of the demographic, because of um, the type of style in which they would shop, and a lot of miscalculations were done, and it just led to a lot of problems, and it led to just a whole lot of problems that I did not anticipate. Okay, so I see there are people being very theatrical in the chat, and so I'll just let you go, and you can go somewhere else. So I have had I have clients. I've had clients who were not born in the United States. I've had clients who were here legally. None of my clients, from my knowledge, were seeking services, and they were not here. They were here illegally. I had one situation I can remember was that I had one Hispanic female. This was about 15 years ago. Um, it was uncertain whether she was born in Mexico or the United States, and we found out that she was actually born in the United States at a Catholic church, and so she, basically had hardly no paperwork, and she didn't get any paperwork until she was maybe about 8 years old, and once they found out she was an American citizen, it just basically changed the lives of everybody that was involved, the adults, because many of those adults who were in her supervision were not legal immigrants. And that is basically the reality. That is basically the reality. So I find it very suspicious as it relates to Mr. Eon, how when people were scrutinizing the support of African Americans towards immigrant populations, and then now they make this particular topic with him at the forefront of illegal immigration. I just find it because at first you didn't hear anything about any black person, even though I'm pretty sure there are black people who are here illegally. Um, and I get that, and there will continue to be those. I mean, there are tons of people who are in America that basically stay longer than their visa said they should stay, and that happens. And so that happens. And there are all type of reasons for oversight. That there are all types of reasons for oversight. And some of this could be intentional, and some of it may not be intentional. Okay? But as far as for Mr. Ian Roberts, this man was actually in Pennsylvania, Baltimore, Maryland, Houston. I'm not Houston, but he was in Texas. And then also his last post, as we all know, was in Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa. That's pretty difficult for me to understand. That was highly, highly difficult. But with that being said, the reality was that, that he got away with it. And the fact of the matter, he had a high paying job, guys. A superintendent, that's like a $200,000 to $250,000, $300,000 job, depending on the school district you're in. You're not getting paid peanuts in that type of position. You're not. I'm not sure, and I can look that up. Give me a second. I can try to look that up. Let me see what the superintendents in Iowa get paid. Let's see what that is. Let me check it out. Let me check that out and see what the average is. Okay. So a superintendent in Iowa makes around 115 to 138,000. That's kind of on the lower end. Um, so he made $100,000. He had 100. He was making $100,000. I know the superintendent in HISD or Houston Independent School District, which is probably on the higher end, and we are in Texas. They get paid pretty well. Um, so he was making good money. He was making good money, and he took up an opportunity that a legal American, a American citizen should have had. An American citizen should have had that job. A qualified American citizen should have been operating in that position. Snatchy says, Darrell, I would like to know your point of view on immigration and your thoughts on left and white wing politics. I will be more than happy to have an intellectual debate with you. Okay, Snatchy, and I would like to talk about that. And if you want to have a debate with me, Snatchy, you can reach me at amburn1718 at gmail.com. That's amburn1718 at gmail.com, which is AMBURN1718 at gmail.com. And I would love to have a conversation. Now, as it relates to immigration, my position is to me no different than any other country that's dealing with immigration. And so I'm a bit more conservative as it relates to immigration because I believe that the issues that I feel like this. The policies that immigrants want us to be lax on, their countries would not allow Americans to operate in such a way on their soil. So I think that immigration should reflect the country that you come from. If your country has favorable immigration policies towards Americans, well, we're going to have equal as favorable to you. If your country, such as some of these Latin countries and other different countries, are highly restrictive, then we should have the same. I feel that it should be a policy of reciprocity. Okay? And so when any country, your citizens come first, not immigrants. I cannot go to another country and upon me going into that country, I'm able to get all types of benefits, housing, free education, health care, ability to get loans, all types of grants and funding that are government. Now, I'm not saying if this was privately donated or through nonprofit organizations. I'm talking about you get a level of entitlement in which from government agencies willing to give you these type of resources. You can't get that in other countries. I can't go to Burkina Faso, which is my ancestral land. I cannot go to Burkina Faso and be treated like a Burkinabe citizen. I can't. Right now, shout out to my brother O'Shea Du Jackson. I don't agree with his statements on Ibrahim Traore, and I understand the female that is over the organization that they claim is scamming people through citizenship and so forth, and people are paying money towards citizenship. I'm sorry, but that issue is not. Ibrahim Traore and the Sahel states have bigger fish to fry than worrying about Americans becoming citizens in Burkina Faso. And I have ancestry claim to the land. And I am not upset with Ibrahim Traore being highly restrictive and not allowing African Americans to become citizens. I don't have an issue with that because he's doing what he has to do to protect his country. And I'm sorry, African Americans, we historically have had a history of betraying our own people. So, and I think he understands that, and I don't think he's willing to take that risk of any westernized African going into his country working for the benefit of their oppressor. I'm sorry. So I respect it. I understand it. It would not be favorable to me if I wanted to repatriate back to Burkina Faso, which I do want to visit. I never had any plans to maybe dual citizenship, but being denied it at this point in time, I respect and honor his decision. Now, once Burkina Faso becomes more independent, more industrialized, and because they're on a pace to become a global power in the next 15 to 20 years, Burkina Faso and particularly the Sahel states are going to be, they're on a trajectory that's unlimited right now. Now, once they get to that point, it may be different, but right now he's trying to protect his country from outsiders that want him dead. Okay? And that's just the facts. And that's just the facts. Okay? And so Strike 777 states if you're from Africa and you're complaining about America, stop taking our aid and then you get to talk. Well, Burkina Faso stopped taking the aid. The Sahel states, Niger and Mali, stopped taking aid. And there are other countries that are also following suit. So um, we don't understand, but right now, um, West Africa and some other states are going through an age of renewal and independence, and they are distancing themselves from European countries or Western countries that are perceived as being westernized, and they're not accepting that aid. They're getting out of debt and they're industrializing themselves and they're regaining control of their resources, which is really what this is all about. Shrike 777. It's about no longer accepting those idiotic deals in which you're exchanging your minerals, your wealth for government aid from foreign countries, and also loans that you can't afford to pay back. Just recently, the United States offered Burkina Faso a $3 billion loan that they gladly declined because they understand with that $3 billion loan that they want to keep you in debt. They wanted 40% of your natural resources, of some of your natural resources and precious metals. That's what that was all about. Okay. The United States is not giving out aid for free. So it's not truly aid. It's actually a hustle to swindle poor African countries out of their natural resources and natural wealth. That's what that's about. How you doing, YouTube cameras? Appreciate you for being here. What's going on, CB? So we have to be educated on foreign trade, and I want you all to understand. Um, it's a difference between foreign trade and then looking at trade with Africa, because the relationship that Africa has with Western countries, particularly Western Europe and America, is a very exploitative relationship in which these Western states and countries um, have taken advantage of recently independent countries that became, most African nations, particularly West Africa, became independent in the 50s and 60s, some in the 70s, who were developing. And they got into these deals in which those countries became dependent on Western countries to get nickels on the dime as it relates to the value of their resources. Okay. Many of these countries should be some of the most richest countries in the world. They should be well developed because they have the resources. Money, a dollar is basically just paper that is tied towards resources. It's tied towards um, economic production. The printed paper has no value. It's what that paper is tied to. Burkina Faso and the Sahel states have also created their own currency. See, these things are not talked about. So when people are critical of Ibrahim Traore and they're critical of the other two military leaders of the Sahel in Mali and Niger. Most Americans are uneducated about what is going on in those countries and why they chose to unite. And right now, Ibrahim Traore has actually, um, our country has strategically downplayed a lot of the gains that Burkina Faso has made in the last 2 years under the leadership of Ibrahim, because they really don't want African Americans looking at uh, the Sahel states as an alternative to being in America. But the Sahel states are heading in a direction. If they continue to improve at the rate that they're improving, they will be an industrialized, very wealthy nation in the next 10 years. And in the next 15, 20 years, they'll be a first world country that will be top 5, top 10. They have that potential. They have that potential. And so I believe in, if you come from a state, as it relates to immigrants, if you have a very restrictive immigration policy towards Americans, then we will in turn treat you with that same level of respect that your country would treat us. So if you have a country that's very, let's say Canada. Canada's not that restrictive to America, so we're not going to be that restrictive to Canadians. Okay? That's just it. That is it. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Uh, you know, um, uh, you know, I don't know why you think you deserve more than that. Um, we're going to treat you the way you treat us. So that's basically called, policy of reciprocity. We'll give the same that you give us. We give you the same in return. That's only fair. And so I don't have an issue with this country deciding to purge itself of illegal immigrants who are here illegally and not here and don't have the proper paperwork, because I cannot go to those countries and be there illegally and thrive. I can't. Shut out the 60 sec assassin states. Can you shut out to my sick friend Dixon Mayaz? Okay, Dixon my ass. Okay. Okay. All righty. And Richard Murhead says uneducated about America as well. Snatchy says asylum seekers are also under the act now as under the Dream Act. Again, it is not the job of America to be the barrier of asylum or political asylum to the world, because I can't. What if I, as an African American, I have 100 reasons to say why I should seek political asylum for the horrible treatment that America is giving African Americans. Can I go to Nigeria illegally? No, I cannot. Can I go to Russia illegally? No, I cannot. Can I go to France? Can I go to England? Give me asylum. Can you also give me free healthcare, free education? No, I cannot. I'm not getting that. No, I'm not. So my position is a position of reciprocity. I'm going to mirror the exact immigration policy that your country would towards the citizens of America. And that's it. And if people are in any way offended by that, well, you need to talk to your country that you come from and ask them to relax those immigration policies so that we both can equally be treated the same if I chose to go to your country. Okay? That's it. It's simple. We don't have to make it more complex than what it is. Simple. If I can't go to your country a certain way, then you can't come here a certain way. That's it. That is it. And so um I have no sympathy for people who come here illegally. Because you know what? If I went to your country illegally, you wouldn't have any sympathy for me either. You wouldn't. I don't understand this thing about people wanting black people who are never here as immigrants. Whether there were black people who were here before slavery, which is a small percentage, and the larger percentage who were here due to slavery. Now we got to look at that because there were Native Africans who were here before Columbus and so forth. Small group of people. Then also we got to understand that there were black people who were here by way of Spain and France before the United States became a nation. Okay, so though that is a real thing, and then you have those that came. The majority of us came through the transatlantic slave trade. So I'm not going to negate, but I like to see stronger research that would research the ancient Africans that were here on North America. Okay, and those who were here by way of Spain, those who were here by way of France, and that's a real thing. And I think that is not studied enough, and there's not enough scholarship that focuses on African people who thrived that had no part of the United States. But once the United States bought the Louisiana Purchase, and once Spain sold Florida and those lands that they owned, there were black people that were living under the rulership of these countries and under that colonization before they became under the rulership of the United States. And that's just facts. Okay. Yeah, North and South America, matter of fact. Shout out to T Pre for bringing that up. Okay. So I've had a small, very small, not necessarily, but sporadic experience dealing with people who have applied for jobs that were illegal immigrants. I've never hired an illegal immigrant. I never will. I've never hired them at the paraprofessional level or the professional level at all. Most of those that worked for me that were immigrants, that they had all their paperwork, and they're really good workers for the most part. So that's my experience. But at the same time, I can't go to Australia or to England, English speaking countries, and just walk across and the pond and go there and say, hi, my name is Dempsey Spears. I'm a professional therapist. I want to work for this, and I want to open up a practice. I want to do this, or I want to provide therapy. Even though there is an international professional counselor license. I forgot the name of it. I remember when I first took my test to become a licensed therapist back in 2005. I want to say about 20 years ago. It was about 20 years ago, I think. There is an international license that you can have. And then I don't know what the reciprocity would look like if I were to go international. But I better have all my paperwork together. What's up, the Queen? Before you react, I can't go to these countries, set up shop with no documentation, without the proper visas and so forth, and outpace, which I probably would do, the current professionals in that country. I can't do that. Okay, I can't go there and open up a successful practice or a successful mental health related company with mental health services and thrive. Okay, which I probably would with my experience and knowledge and business and so forth. I probably would do very well. But I know that I can't do that. But people come here and think that they are entitled to that. And that's the problem. And so expecting African Americans to bend over backwards to advocate for those, again, I'm going to reflect my rhetoric earlier. I am going to reflect the behavior that you gave us when we were wanting support for all types of civil rights and human rights related issues, in which we bled, we died, we got shot, we were deprived of all types of entitlements and benefits as citizens, uh, issues with the criminal justice system, discrimination and so on as it relates to retail, government, misappropriation of funding, healthcare related issues, educational related issues, and you all basically, didn't give us any support. So my position is that, okay, you have your issues. Well, we will in turn do the same. We're going to sit back and not say anything and we're going to allow you the privilege of handling and resolving your own issues, just like the same that was afforded to us by not getting your support. So that's only fair. So I don't see what the problem is. So no, we're not going to advocate for anybody because no one wants to advocate for us. And to be honest with you, you shouldn't. And therefore, we should not do the same. It's called reciprocity. It sounds fair to me. It sounds equally appropriate. And, you didn't see us crying, asking other people why, because we understand that nobody's going to help us. We have no friends. And so therefore, by us not having friends, we're not going to be a friend to anybody because we have actually been there and done that. And so I have had several of my colleagues and people that I've worked with who have complained about the arrogance of immigrants in this country, even towards us as Black people, as African people, and it was not very favorable. And so my position is I'm not going to complain about it. I'm not going to beg to be your friend. I'm not going to, try to work out a situation where we could collectively, benefit from each other, like the whole situation, the propaganda behind the Black and brown relations and so forth, which to me, I never understood that. And I know I'm from the South, and I've never, I grew up in a state that is, basically 65% white and about 30+% African American, and then, few percent of everything else. I never understood that. I never believed in it. I always thought that it was a facade, which it has always proven to be. And so my position is I'm going to give you the same energy that you give us. And if you want that to change, then you're going to have to change, because we were the ones who actually have civil rights acts of 64 and 68 that benefited you. Okay. It benefited us, but not exclusively. We wanted it to, but they added in all these other groups that have allowed things to happen in the manner that they see. We have a history of helping you. You don't have a history of helping us. So unfortunately, we're going to choose to sit aside. We're not going to get in your way, but we're not going to lend a hand, because we've already lent enough hands. And, unfortunately, we were treated, not so well. So that's my position on that. So I'm going to let you all come walk out with me. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, guys. And we can kind of talk, but give me a second. Alrighty, I'm getting out of here for the day. I'll be here in the morning, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, yes. I got the email that you got me, so I'll take a look at that, and I'll complete paperwork and all that. Get started on that. I probably want to do all the remainder of the stuff that we talked about earlier, and I may touch on that this weekend.
Okay.
All right, take care. Have a good day. All right. Okay, so I see people are saying a lot of different things. Um, so I'm getting out of here, guys. I'm heading home. I may stop and get something to drink. I'm gonna let you all come walk with me. Uh, you know. So yes, guys. For those that think otherwise, I am still operating and doing things, um, and I know people have been told other misinterpreted information, but that's fine. Um, but I'm, basically done for the day. Not necessarily done for the day because I do have an appointment at 5:30. I have a virtual appointment and so on. Too boldly go. I will walk with you, my brother. But yeah, guys. I mean, my position is that you know you can't come and expect us to treat you better than what you're willing to treat us. I mean, I think that one of the biggest mistakes that African people in America have made is that we've always had a tendency, under the disguise of being a great Christian, of willing to treat you. So that has not benefited us. And it doesn't make you less, for those that care, which I don't care, but it doesn't make you less of a Christian. That makes you more of an intelligent Christian. Because at the same time, we don't want to engage in self-defeating behaviors that don't benefit us, particularly with people that don't have our best interests. Okay? So, I mean, I've talked about this. This is part 2. I just wanted to have this discussion because, you know, let's be honest, guys. Illegal immigration hurts the black community. Let's just be honest. Illegal immigration does not help the black community. It actually hurts the black community. And I'm not talking about just with particular people from certain countries. I'm talking about illegal immigration across the board. It does not help black people. It does not help the black community. It actually takes away jobs. It takes away resources. It takes away, you know, things that we could benefit from. And we are not, those slots, there's only a finite amount of resources and jobs, benefits, entitlements, etc. And so when you have people who are not Americans taking those things, there's less for us. And also the fact that we pay taxes. Many illegal immigrants don't pay taxes. Now, some do, but most of them don't. And let's just be honest. That's just the facts. That's just the facts. Most of them don't. Most illegal immigrants do not. Matter of fact, I would go out on a limb and say only a small percentage of illegal immigrants pay taxes. Okay? And the reason why there's only a small percentage, because the majority of them know they have no business being here, and they're getting paid jobs that pay them cash. Okay? Now, the ones that do pay taxes are those such as Mr. Ian Roberts, who overstayed their visa and they didn't go through the proper vetting and had some level of paperwork where they continue to get away with it because of that. And because there's hundreds of Ian Roberts out there of any community. Okay? And so that's just the facts. So guys, I appreciate you all for supporting me today. I'm here to talk about different topics that are analogous to me as a therapist, equate to me providing services as a clinician, a businessman, family man, things that relate to education, things that I could encompass or let's just say deal with or come into contact with in my own just anecdotal experiences as a human being, as a professional on a day-to-day basis. So that's what this channel was about. Shout out to Too Boldly Go. Appreciate you for being here. I plan to go live more often and have these discussions, real topics on real issues as it relates to me and my position in life and my community that I work in as a business owner, as a therapist, et cetera, et cetera. You all have a wonderful day. Peace.